If I'm being honest, my only real regret in all of this is not cutting her off the first time she got weird. But I'm someone who tries to extend grace, especially in new connections, because I know we're all a little guarded, a little wounded, a little unsure of how to show up and be seen. But let this be a cautionary tale for the women who lead with empathy, okay? Especially the neurodivergent ones, because this was a lesson in self-trust. And I thank God that I made it out with my peace and platform intact. But the truth is, when someone is that committed to being hateful, it can go left fast. We've all seen what happens when envy turns violent. And I say this with all due respect. May Shanquella Robinson rest in power. And I'm not saying this for shock value. I'm saying it because emotional harm can escalate. And I want other women to listen to that first inner alarm. Believe yourself the first time. This is documentation. Because when someone uploads a 2-hour smear video about you, twist your words, paint you as the villain, when you've moved with nothing but grace, you're allowed to tell your side. And I'm not telling it for sympathy. I'm telling it so the next woman doesn't question her gut or shrink herself or silence her voice to protect someone who's always looking for a reason to flip the script. This is a digital cautionary tale, especially for the girls like me, the ones who feel too much, sense shifts before they're spoken, pattern recognition, hold space for everyone until it costs them their sanity. So here it is, the full timeline, the receipts, and the real story. Before Atlanta, before the group chat, I reached out to Messy for a wedding performance quote. And I'm going to be calling her Messy because the girls are so police these days. But I reached out to her for a wedding performance quote, and I'm only bringing this up because she did. I honestly forgot. No, we're talking 5 years ago. And I would consider her at the time to be like an internet acquaintance whose music, voice I loved. I mean, a girl could sing. I'm no hater. And she, amongst a dozen others, were on the list for wedding entertainment. I didn't hire her. It was nothing shady. I just did not move forward. That's it. We went with the local jazz singer because our theme was burlesque. It just ended up working. I don't have to pay for travel. Like, come on. So she later brought this up in her smear video like it was a betrayal. And I realized, that clearly planted a seed or something that she didn't forget. So for her to seek out friendship with even a seed of animosity is beyond me. And this is how it started. Not with a fight, but with a fragile ego. Fast forward, I moved to Atlanta. Messy and I connect in real life for the first time. Things were cool, supportive. She wasn't really getting invited to events. And I, for the life of me, couldn't imagine why. Like, she's well known here, you know? So I started sharing invites, contacts, things I've done since the beginning of my career with other creators. Like, I respectfully just don't see other people as competition, mainly because I believe we all have our own destiny. And sometimes I do think we're placed in people's lives for a reason or, you know, a season. Heck, one contact could change a life. And that's been it for me several times. So sharing is just a me thing. And I'm never going to change that. But there were 2 other girls she was growing community with that I was also, I guess, friendly acquaintances with. Eventually, I'm going to name them Messy, Corin, and Leela. So eventually me, Messy, Corin, and Leela form a group chat. She loops everyone in and we're all just Black women in media. There's synergy, there's ideas. It's dope, right? And this is also casting season, which is usually super short, super intense. Like, shows are just trying to scout talent. RHOA was considering me for the 3rd time and another reality show. So there were crossovers for us in the group. I just don't want to speak to other people's business, but we discussed creating a show together, something that blends all of our digital presence with our real life, you know, budding sisterhood, you know, like this is going to be just, you know, a bunch of girls getting their footing in Atlanta, getting to know each other. I was thinking, anyway, let me not jump ahead. I had also been writing my own scripted reality show in the style of like Single Ladies. You know that show? I used to love that show. But it was something she was also, Messy, considering. So I was like, all right, a collab would be dope. We can control our own narrative. And we all voiced that was one of our biggest fears with reality TV. We all agreed to radical transparency, okay? I bring up NDAs, boundaries, right? Because as someone who's been in production both with TV, with fashion, just on the internet, I know, you know, this is nothing new. I've signed so many NDAs, and it was not intended on my part to cause a stir. I just wanted everyone to feel protected. Needless to say, it never happened. And the NDA was never signed. I just wanted to address that. But then there comes Threads. Now, Threads has become my new Twitter, okay? I share whatever I please. Relatable quotes, fashion, friend and family quotes, child. It's my personal digital space. I do what I want, okay? I'm grown. I do what I want. I post something in general about how like gossip gets monetized and how messy some celebrity bloggers can be, because they are. I mean, I feel like there's just no line anymore. It's just nasty. So this was in regards to people speaking negatively on Cassie and like all the things the blogs have been posting about her were just wicked. So I had no clue that she would assume some of these threads were about her. If I'm being honest, I don't even consider her to be a celebrity blogger, but like a budding commentator. Like, so I was perplexed much. Very confused. But again, it's not about her. And for context, a digital mutual had commented something that I misinterpreted in hindsight. Initially, I was just confused because, yeah, I mean, I just entered it here. But I reached out to Messy about said mutual. This is someone that she's cool with. And I say, like, is she okay? Like, what is going on in response to her response? to my post. So Messy reframes things. She's like, I don't think that's what she meant, whatever. No harm, no foul, misunderstandings happen. But her tone towards me around this time changed. I don't know if it was related to that, but I'm just going through because it's been a bunch of experiences here. So I continue posting, reposting as usual. I was also dealing with a separate falling out behind the scenes with someone I actually considered family. Like, she was basically just violating my trust. This is someone I defended, supported. I mean, I consider her to be the circle in the inner circle. This person and I were both grieving our own friendship group. So when I found out she had been bad-mouthing me and sharing my personal business with a mutual acquaintance, I was like, whoa. I was blindsided. I mean, I probably cried for a week, but that was like the final straw. And I think I'm sharing that just because the context may help explain any friendship content you see from me on TikTok or Threads. This is a very public friend breakup, and Messy was aware of it on the front end, okay? Not the back, because I'll get to that. But again, I had no idea that she felt any type of way, let alone that she would interpret my posts as being about her. Also, I want y'all to note that Corinne and Leela were also aware of what was going on loosely in my inner circle friendships. Because one of our meetups, I had just been made aware of the betrayal on my car ride, and I was a wreck, okay? I probably should have made a U-turn and canceled. I should have, in hindsight, but I tried to suck it up and honor my RSVP. I was also bringing the florals. Okay, that's to be noted for later. I sucked up them tears, which I clearly did a terrible job at hiding. I ended up sharing that I did receive some bad news. They were so sweet to me. Corinne reached out to me separately with warm words and was like, if I ever needed to talk to her, she'd be there. So I felt that was kind of her, but I'm not gonna lie, I decided against it. Not really out of fear, but because I was just dealing with it in therapy. Because this was, child, I don't even want to get into that. But as for Messy and I, our private conversation had started to fade at this point, but I just chalked it up to her entering a new relationship. Because this is something this girl really wanted, child. I mean, I don't know nobody that wanted to be in a relationship more than this girl. So I gave her space. I was genuinely happy for her. And some people disappear a little bit when they get a man. Not me though, but some people do that. The energy shifted out of nowhere in the group chat. We were prepping interviews for our show. Mila was the first one to go up after Messy. And she just started snapping. Her responses were super cold. She was being passive and aggressive for no reason, had attitude. I was so confused. In hindsight, I don't know if she was trying to perform for her little producer boyfriend or what, but the vibes were just off, and it just kept getting weirder and weirder. I feel it, okay? So I do the grown thing. I try to mediate. I'm just like, I know we said transparency. Like, it's something off. Like, how can we honor what we all agreed on? Because right now, it's almost like you verbally agree to something with someone and they just like pull the rug at the last minute. And, Leela was really anxious about this interview and just wanted to know like what the cadence was like, or like, it wasn't even that serious. It was just like, how did it go? Leela responds first, but not to like mediate, but to apologize, because I think she's feeling like her anxiety is a burden based on Messy's tone. She clearly felt it was rude because she was not happy, and you'll see that. Messy responds, she's dismissive, and I defend her. I'm like, yo, this is not what we agreed to. Like, what is going on? So Corinne starts mediating, but she's not calling out Messy's tantrum at all. It's almost like she's smoothing it over and like semi-neutral, but it was weird because in the text, she too was asking about the interview. But Messy seemed to only have smoke for Mila and then me, after I softly backed her up. And I wonder why. Could it be that one is a reality TV personality with connects and millions of followers? I don't know. Anyway, she doesn't clarify Messy. She doesn't explain. She just literally leaves the group chat, y'all. Like, she removes herself from the group chat. Like, such and such left the group chat. Mad rude. So I'm like, what the hell? I hit up Mila, like, what is going on? Like, what just happened right now? Like, I'm so confused because at this point, Corinne is clearly, she doesn't seem bothered by it and almost like, I understand why she feels this way, guys. And I'm just like, did you read what we just read? Did you hear what we just heard? But I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. I don't want this to be something that, is just sitting on ice. So I check in privately outside of the chat. She's super dry. And I'm still like trying to reduce the tension. So she asked Mila to be re-added to the chat because, when she removed herself, it was complicated to re-add her for some reason, but whatever. She never apologizes, just for the record. And I guess, the tantrum is over. So I decided to split the group into 3 separate chats just to alleviate any overwhelm, show, social, random. And just to add context to like what I was trying to do here, it was a gesture of care. I was trying not to take this personal, but it was lingering, I'm not gonna lie. I had experienced these type of like outbursts and covert control and switching in past friendships, so I was just trying my best not to let that dictate how I was feeling in this moment. Like, I don't know if that's what this is. I don't want to assume, want to handle this differently. No, I'm just trying to do things differently. Like, I don't know these people. Like, we're getting to know each other. So I knew at that point that boundaries would have to be in place. But honestly, after this spat, things were never quite the same. And this is when I realized present day that I was no longer a friend, a homie, whatever you want to call it. I was now a target for calling her out in the group chat. And I really think she was just waiting for me to slip so she could justify the narrative that was already forming in her head. So I noticed one of her threads about friends and love bombing. And again, I said, like who's love bombing her, babe? Because I have eyes. And I genuinely was curious because not being shady, like who, babe? Like who? Oh, okay. I also knew the timing was interesting because this is the same girl who threw me, a new quote unquote friend, an entire party. So this is just more for timeline and things I realized post blocking her and ending the friendship, by the way, just whatever. So the weirdness starts getting louder. She starts talking like around me in the group chat, not to me. And again, I am trying not to take things personally. Okay. And I can't speak about things, but there's obligations at this point. So even if we don't get along, there's an obligation that is happening. I don't know how else to say. I can't really speak about it, but we're going to have to talk. Put it that way. Like, let's just say if this is school, there's a group project that we already signed on to that, you know, if we get called to the front of the class, we may have to go up to it together. Let's put it that way. So the weirdness gets louder. She's talking about me in the group chat, not to me. We would be like trying to coordinate schedules or something. And she'd be like active on threads while ignoring the group text. So we're literally in the group chat, like texting, and she'll like pop in and then pop right out and be like, oh, I went Chipotle. Like being very like passive, like, and of course, like I'm a scroller, like I can text, I'll be texting and maybe scrolling. So I would see it. It's not that I'm looking for it. But it's like, we're waiting like to confirm something and she'll be like on threads. Like, it's just the weirdest, like most passive things that she would do. I felt it was rude. I felt it was intentional. And I feel like it really just became a pattern. And this is someone who, you know, she once threw a tantrum and left the group chat. We all added her back without drama. So if I'm feeling triggered by passive energy, I feel like, you know, I'm going to give myself the same grace, okay? So I didn't block her. I didn't mute her. I just removed her from my threads to protect my peace because I was starting to, like, I'm like, is this girl really, like, am I bugging? Like, I'm gaslighting myself at this point. Still responding to some of my posts, so I assume things are fine. I keep posting like normal. My tone, my cadence didn't change at all. The group chat was still semi-active, so I figured, all right, this is what it is now. I can take full accountability for this particular decision. Was it petty? Yes. But it was also a boundary, my boundary, because how was I supposed to communicate? Hey, I don't know if I'm early to this, but I'm actually not okay with the fact that you get to have tantrums and only show respect to Lauren in this chat with your timely, thoughtful responses while actively ignoring or dismissing Mila or myself when asked questions. Like, how do you say that to somebody you don't really know like that without it turning into a thing in this group, you know? So it felt like I was being baited. Like, my only two options legit were either A, you call her out in the group and look combative, or you just withdraw completely. The way, it's a lose-lose situation for me, right? Because I'm gonna still look crazy. And for context, I've always posted about protecting my energy. I share quotes about blocking people for peace. That has never changed. I blocked my own mother. Like, no one is above the program. I've blocked my own mother. On my phone, on social media, like, everyone gets the same level of respect with me. You know, you get what you give. I've shared quotes about narcissistic tactics and people who smile in your face and talk behind your back. Hell, half the time my threads aren't even about me. They're just thoughts. But I'm assuming she felt one or all were about her. And here's the truth. We weren't close enough at that point for me to be subbing her to like I just feel like it was just too deep. Like, some of the threads they just didn't make sense with the level of friendship that we had. We hadn't even had a true falling out yet. Just like some misunderstandings, some tension. So unless you're guilty, why would you assume my posts are about you? Fast forward, Messy hits 1 million. Group chat lights up, which was seldom at this point. And I suggest, you know, let's just send her some flowers. Using my florist, the same one I used for Corin's celebration dinner. That part is important and we'll come back to it later. I figured we had all had time to cool down, and with the way things were going, celebrating her milestone just felt like another chance for us to like get together. Maybe, let's clear the air in person. Shit. So now, I know not every thought I have is truth, and I know that every thought in general just isn't truth, but we all carry some level of friend drama. So I try again to extend the same kind of grace I would want extended to me. Clock the behavior. I made mental notes, and I would just, adjust my expectations. Like, I'm not thinking we are beefing, okay? At this point, it was clearly more like a friendly work acquaintance, and that's okay. Still open to deepening my connection with the other two women, so I was like, why not try? But back in the group chat, though, the response to the idea was slow. I even texted Messy separately to ask her availability so we can coordinate something, to celebrate her win. She never got back to me. So maybe it's the eldest daughter in me or just my ability to compartmentalize, but I can still show up for people even when things feel off. Like life happens. I don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. In my opinion, I feel the group had already started emotionally detaching from me. There were conversations that were clearly happening that I wasn't privy to, that Leela later confirmed. Because at a later time, she said to me, oh my God, girl, I was looking at your threads and I was like, is this play about us? Literally, she said that like verbatim to me. And I was a little thrown because I'm like, why would it be? Where is this coming from? I was so confused. But looking back, the writing was already on the wall. I just hadn't started reading it yet, Jeff. But Corin also hosted a birthday dinner at home for her husband, someone that my husband was also starting to build a relationship with. It felt like a night that we would all see each other, but Messy didn't show up, which was definitely interesting to me. But she did decide to do dinner separately with them to celebrate. And that was when I was like, I, again, try not to overthink it. But I'm a hyper vigilant person. I grew up in a very emotionally reactive household. So always trying to keep the peace. That's like something that's followed me in my trauma from childhood. It's hard for me to ignore patterns because my pattern recognition is like really good. And I can always tell when things are off. It's just the way I grew up. Mila didn't attend either. She had other plans. So I just gave both of them the benefit of the doubt, honestly. But in hindsight, I now know that Messy didn't want to be in the same room as me, honey. And again, those private conversations were already happening. The distance wasn't random. In my opinion, it was intentional. I hadn't caught on yet. So next up is the Mael Organics event. Normally, we would, again, share invites in the group, but not this time. Things have shifted a bit. It's okay. So I show up on my own invite. I see Messy. And the timing is literally one for the books, y'all. I'm talking like for the book. Outside, I'm taking B-roll video. I say hello. And when I tell y'all this girl barely hugs me like, it's like hurting her to hug me. And I'm like, I'm going to smile because I'm an asshole. I'm like, oh, she clearly has some sort of problem or she's having a bad day. So she barely hugs me and I'm like speaking and she just walks off mid-combo. And I'm like, all right, girl. Like, child, you're not about to ruin my energy. For context, she's been like this several times before at social gatherings. Even ones I've invited her to. Like, she'll be next to me and I'll look up and she's gone. Like, I'd have to text her like, yo, you good? Only to hear she left, child. Like, so I come from a different school, right? So if someone invites me to an event, like I'm going to say goodbye to them. I'm probably going to leave with them, come with them. That's just my, social etiquette. But everyone, wasn't raised the same way as me, chat. That's just the rule that I follow. But I had that experience with her. So I try my best to not take other people's like issues and anxiety and make them mine. I did it my entire life with my mother. So I was super excited for this event in particular because one of my homegirls was the key person for decor and event, the event planning. So I was really there for her. She and Corin sit together. That's fine. But the disconnect is obvious. And one of my homegirls even asked me about it, that I was sitting at the table with. I was just like, oh, yeah, it's all good. I'm, whatever. I'm not saying anything. So they both leave the event together and there was no goodbye. No bye tea, which is okay. So this is the first time I honestly just chose to see it. I was like, okay, I'm not tripping here. Okay, so August, I land my first Hulu campaign. Okay, I was super hyped because this was a big moment, full circle moment, because earlier that year we had attended a Hulu and Twitter launch event, I think. So when they circled back to cut me a check, honey, I was lit. Like, okay. I had brought up the fact that I was partnering with them in the group chat after someone asked if anyone was attending. I was already going to be there. And also, Messy has alluded to me being quote unquote fake in the chat. And here's my thing. I, again, had no clue that there was a solid issue with us, or with me. She never brought anything to my attention directly. Of course, I'm telling y'all, I had suspicions based on her behavior. Sure. There was no actual conversation. So from my perspective, it just looked like two, headstrong girls having a minor clash. I don't know. I really don't know. This is so odd to me. I didn't think it was that deep. Well, not at the time. Here's the other thing. You have a one-sided beef with me. Why should the other two girls have to suffer for it? Like, why does everyone suffer? Like, was I supposed to be cold and dismissive to them to just prove a point? Should I have ignored everyone and matched your energy? Or what? Like, this isn't Messi's Angels. I can't remember if she said she was going to be there or not, but she doesn't respond to me partnering with them. The congrats came from Leela and Corin. So she shows up at the event without saying a word, Chad. I was in hot pink sequins, mini skirt, oversized blazer, very much Stargirl energy. She gives me this dry hug, the same thing. Like, she's literally like, like, I gotta hug this bitch. And she walks off, and her man, he's like trying to fill the silence with small talk. And I don't know if I'm just an asshole or not, but I'm like, I ain't got no problem with your man, but I don't know. So anyway, I'm smiling, posing, getting my content. Because I'm like, her energy is not gonna lower my rate. So I think that was the absolute moment I decided, okay, this girl is weird. Like, this is capital W weird. So around the holidays, Mila suggests planning a Friendsgiving. So the group chat, it's picking up again. And I assumed, okay, this is just her way to get us all to reconnect. Like, she was definitely the whimsy connector baddie of the group. So, and she hadn't hosted anything yet because she's also settling into Atlanta just like me. And I get her why. Like, you want to have a Friendsgiving? Like, hell yeah. So when the group was functioning well under Messi's dictatorship, things were great. And I really enjoyed it. Like, it was great. But the separate time I spent with Mila, because we had spoke a bit more outside the chat, her husband was a doll. I'm like, F it. I'm all for it. I'm going to bring a dish. But I was traveling. I was shooting. I was hosting. It's my birthday month. I didn't have that many, it's always like a Thursday or Friday for a Friendsgiving. So at the same time, I had my own plans brewing to host a Friendsgiving for my close circle. Truthfully, I had a little anxiety about hosting in my house because I've never even had a housewarming, like, ever. But my friend was like, yo, do it. You love community. Do it for the people that, do it. You want to do this. Like, do it. And I'm like, you got to help me. So he literally helped me decorate my house, my tree, everything. I did this bomb, bow tree. It was so cute. If I'm being honest, I was torn about the invite list because Messi had been so weird and distant, and we weren't really speaking outside of the communication in the group chat. We weren't engaging on social media. It was kind of awkward. So I'm like, there's no way I'd invite her to an intimate event at my home. I still thought, I have a genuine... Well, I had genuine budding friendships with the other two women. So I'm like, how do I navigate this? My own Friendsgiving plans were in limbo. I wasn't sure. I'm also that girl. I will plan an event in 3 days. I have so much anxiety. I will literally be like, I'm going to do it. No, I don't want to do it. I'm going to do it. No, I don't want to do it. So that's just who I am. And then I'll do it. But anyway, I think the mind-boggling part to me is that she assumed I'd thrown this event to spite her. But it's like, you didn't even propose this event. You weren't even hosting it. So how would I be spiting you by having it? Anyway, I see it. Open Instagram and I see their girls' lunch. They posted it online. I didn't get an invite, child. I just see a photo of the three of them. Caption was crazy. I feel like it was a dig. And they had flowers in hand. And it looks like flowers from my florist. Mind you, I'm the person in the group chat that even introduced gifting flowers. Because that's just what I do. I buy my people flowers. It's always been a thing. Now there are flowers. There are flowers in a group photo, which means there's a separate group chat. Oh my God. From my vantage point, this is intentional. And by that point, I knew Messi wasn't getting an invite to my damn dinner. Whatever we had, it was dead and gone. That was it. I didn't need no closure. I said, oh no. Oh, no. Because let's be real, there's nothing more mean girl coded than intentionally planning a lunch with the group you put together and purposefully leaving one person out. One, I think that says a lot to our followers when we've been in group photos together. You were soft launching, kicking me out the group. You're a weirdo. You're weird. So I just finalized my own dinner plans. And yes, I invited Corin and Leela, but that was more so out of respect. In hindsight, should I have? Maybe not. And you'll see why. I didn't want to judge them based solely off of Messi's antics. You know what I mean? On top of that, our husbands were getting to know one another. It was a mess. So I was torn. Do I blow this whole thing up? Do I mess it up for the husbands? Will I be seen as the problem here? Because I'm always the problem, child. It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. Anyway, those are the thoughts running through my head. And I just felt like a little girl again. I was a little girl that got left off a bad and bougie. I'm laughing, but that really made me sad. I'm not going to lie. I really felt like a kid. But I should have honored my first feeling, but I invited them anyway. Messi was definitely not on the guest list. Leela later confirmed that Messi was the one who organized the lunch. Of course, I wasn't surprised. Thanks for confirming what I thought. What did surprise me, however, was that the other two went along with something so obviously mean girl coded. Because I would never do that to someone, let alone post it. I don't know, basic code, basic decency. So Corin and her man declined the Friendsgiving. No direct message, no text, just a no on the planning app. But I'm like, all right. Leela, she tried to come, but she didn't make it. Cool. Now, Messy, she subbed me online again. Yes, someone sent me the post. Again, this was in November. What most people don't know was that the ex-friend I mentioned earlier that was spreading my business far and wide, we were actually set to host a show together. I mean, scripts, co-hosting duties, the whole nine. Despite how hurt I was by her betrayal, I decided, you know what? You're grown. Remain professional. Honor your commitment, okay? I wrote the scripts. I still showed up. But she got too big for her britches, okay? And talked herself right out of the opportunity. She essentially started, telling little lies, allegedly. And at this point, when she had talked herself out of the opportunity, I had another conversation with the person that she shared my business with. And she, I guess, realized y'all are really not cool. So now I'm gonna tell you everything. And when I tell y'all, it was just like, wow. This girl told you all of my business. Things I would vent to her about, work stuff. I was super depressed at the time because I had to close my boutique. There were just so many things that she was sharing that I thought would stay between us. And she just was not only sharing and spreading my business, but embellishing as well. So I was completely done. I posted vaguely about it. Not about Messy, but this was about her, okay? Because people were starting to ask questions about her absence at the show. Do y'all know this girl showed up to the show? Anyway, it was becoming obvious that something has shifted. It's showtime now. And at the same time, y'all, I swear it was 300 when the arrows are raining down on you with no shield. I received some devastating family news. My personal life was in shambles, honey. I was heartbroken. I was spiraling. So I finally took my therapist's advice at this time and I saw a psychiatrist because I was just these tools aren't working. I was going through a lot, Yeah, that was when I got diagnosed as neurodivergent. So that was a lot for me to process. And I was just okay. The arrows just keep coming. They keep coming. I wasn't okay. My birthday comes, and then a few days after my birthday, Messy drops a 2-hour YouTube video. Mind you, we hadn't had a direct conversation from July to December, which is when this video dropped. Any communication we had, if any, were in the group chat. She drops this video about me, my marriage. She's talking about my mental health, my business, my friendships. And then 3 days later, she drops another video about someone else in our circle. So I'm oh, this isn't just commentary. This is a pattern. You have a rejection issue. When people no longer want to be in friendship with you, you lose your mind. You can't handle rejection. So I do what grown-ups do. I call her. Because if it's one thing I would never want her to think is that she was a topic of any conversation happening over here. The thought of her thinking that I had beef with her still makes me nauseous. The fact that she thinks, that really sickens me. Because it was never that. So I'm did you make a video about me? Now I'm feeling like I'm a psychic because I literally predicted this. Okay. She pauses and I'm telling y'all, she's oh, 1 second, hold on. And I'm oh, she's setting up the camera. I'm honestly shocked that this hasn't been aired, but I think what she didn't know about me is that my nasty side is just as extreme as my kind side. And no one will ever yell at me. So she starts yelling, you've been subbing me. I'm girl, I have not been subbing you. I explained to her what it was about. She calls me a liar. So now I'm going off. Cause who are you calling a liar? So verbatim, I'm babe, why would I lie to you? You cannot beat my ass. Let's be for real here. I don't even lie to my mother. So we go back and forth. We're getting nowhere. At one point, she accuses me of making my husband unfollow her. And I'm what? Why would my husband still be following you after the things you said? In what world would that be okay? She called me weird for that, by the way. But again, I don't even know why. She can't relate to the loyalty that a husband will have for his wife, child. So I brought up her passive-aggressive behavior, the very same things I mentioned earlier. And instead of any accountability, she's you're controlling, for pointing out that, yeah, before we were even friends, you were the first person dropping heart eyes on every post. I could always count on Messy to be in every comment, child. The moment I noticed how you started excluding me, the way you tried to flip the narrative, the fact that you can't manipulate me the way that you want. Now I'm the problem? No, I just clocked you. And she didn't like that. So we get nowhere. She hangs up. This all went down at the beginning of December. And like I mentioned earlier, I'd been seeing both a therapist and a psychiatrist. So I had, tools. And I was honestly determined to not respond to this the way that I would have in the past. That phone call, though, the yelling definitely triggered me. And I got crazy. The Bronx came out, honey. What she did was absolutely disrespectful, but I knew my emotions were tangled up in things much deeper than her. And I just didn't want that to bleed into how I handled her. Because I'm like, yo, I personally feel like she did this on YouTube so that I would respond to her on Instagram because that is the platform I use the most, which would then harm me and my brand. But babe, I've been here already. I've been baited and I have reacted and it has cost me. I'm not doing that with you because you're not worth it. Would I crash out publicly just to validate her narrative? No, because that's exactly what she wanted. Instead, I did a live, like just enough to respond while keeping it cute. It wasn't intentional. Like the live wasn't just to address her, but that came up, of course, on the live. While this girl's still subbing me and people are still sending it to me. So she's still trying to bait me into, a little meltdown. But the gag is those type of emotions, I save them for people I'm really in community with. I mean, I think if I would ever do it, it'd be people in my inner circle, that I've shared history with years of friendship. She surrounds herself with industry folk and people that serve her image. Me, I'm grieving real connections. And I know that's something else she can't relate to. In the aftermath, this wasn't even the part that hurt the most. I think I had already predicted again this was going to happen when I was on the phone with my college bestie. At the beginning of the ship, I'm going to call it a ship because it sank, and it most certainly wasn't friendship. But I legit remember saying to her on the phone, I don't know if I could be friends with this girl. Like, I'm not healed enough. Like, I literally said that to her. She does exposés on everyone, and it's not even cute. It's nasty. Like, she says nasty things and she just hides in her home. But anyway, what hurt was Corin and Leela saying nothing. I want to add that I actually reached out to Leela in regards to this. We were mid-combo. I was explaining everything to her. I told her what was going on with my ex-friend. I don't know if maybe I was secretly hoping she could help mediate. I don't know why that was still a thought, but I don't know. But she presented herself that way, so I'm talking to her. I'm telling her what's happening. She's like, oh my God, da-da-da-da-da. And she just leaves me on red. She leaves me on red, y'all. Like, I was just like, what? Like, I've never encountered, anyway. She also stopped engaging with me publicly and shifted her interactions with me to DMs. And you know what that means. Corin, radio silence. Baby girl chose her side and she didn't check in. So I blocked them all. Not out of anger, but just out of protection. Because I'm like, this isn't the type of community I want to participate in. And this was at the top of the year for context. So 7 months later, why now? Because my silence was mistaken for guilt. And I'm not guilty of a damn thing. When she dropped that video, I was already spiraling mentally, emotionally, family crisis, friend betrayal. And let's be real, we weren't even that close. I didn't respond because I knew I'd crash out. To this day, I haven't even watched the full video. But she kept talking, kept subbing, kept linking with people who harmed me. People who told me to my face that they didn't even like her. I'm forgiving, I'm understanding, but I will absolutely draw the line at forgiving malicious people. I had my qualms about her, like I told y'all, and I should have trusted my intuition. This girl surrounds herself with people who enable her, people who would never confront her, but I will. Because when someone's never been held accountable, finally sees a mirror, of course they flinch. She called me a victim, and now that I think about it, I am. I'm a victim of covert, insecure women who befriend people they secretly envy, women with agendas, women who can't stand next to authentic light without trying to dim it. And I won't stay silent about mistreatment, not now, not ever. So let this be a cautionary tale. Avoid pick-me-shas at all costs, the ones who hide behind cameras, run from real life, and weaponize their platforms because they lack what can't be bought. Authenticity. You tried to project, obsess, digitally dogpile, and I'm still here. And I don't play by your rules because, quite frankly, your game is tired. You tried to paint me as the victim. Okay. But I decided I'm the villain now. So let's play.